Hello, thanks very much for joining me today. In the vise you see an LDO, well, a variation of the LDO, but primarily it's a dual fly. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in the vise is a Hanak H100 barbless hook. It's at size 10, it's a light wire hook, purpose built for dry fly fishing. The thread I'm going to be using today is the Fish On Ultimate Tyne Silk, and it's, as you can see, it's like a steel grey colour. As always, when using the silks like this, I like to just put a little dab of super glue onto my shank of the hook, spread it about a little bit with the silk, and then just add a few turns just to get you started. Then I'm going to come back up until I'm approximately 1/4 of an inch from the eye of the hook. Next then, I'm going to use some ultra dry yarn. It's a Fish On product. It comes out of the packet, it's quite thick. I don't need it to be that kind of thickness, so what I'm going to do, as you can see the snip I've taken off, is I'm just going to split it. And I'll put one to the side so I can tie another fly. Just straighten out all the ends and then capture in 1/4 of an inch back, pinch and loop, and then you can just make sure that that's bedded down in place. Next thing I want to do then is cut away the waist of my post in a taper. Then I can simply carry on down the body of the hook. Okay, got some rogue fibres there, but I'm not overly worried about that just yet. I'm going to use some Vineyards silver wire. It's number 27 if you're interested, but any light wire will do. Silver works best with the dubbing I'm going to use, but depending on what you decide to use for your body will depend on the colour of your wire, really. So I'm just catching it in on my side. I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom to where a barb would be on the hook normally. Now the dubbing I'm going to use is this is snowshoe that you see I've got in my hands here. Now I'm a big fan of using this in wings of flies and even in some bugs actually, just to give it that leggy appearance. And these long fibres is what I mostly use, but inside the snowshoe there's a wealth of dubbing to be had in these fibres. They're very buoyant and they're ideal for dry fly. So I'm just going to pick out some of that good stuff from the snowshoe, and I'm going to dub it on to my thread. Now some of the longer fibres has trapped itself in amongst the softer stuff, which is fine. I like that, gives it a bit of character. And then I can just come all the way up my body. Very gentle taper, but I want to leave approximately 1/8 of an inch. So there's where my post is going to start, and I've left a little bit of a gap there, about 1/8 of an inch. So next I can then come round in the opposite direction with my rib, fairly open turns, but enough to give that segmented body appearance, and then I can capture my rib in just where I finish bringing my dubbing up. I'm going to do that with just a couple of turns. Come in front of your wire rib, keeping tension on the thread, just twist that away until it comes away. So far so good. Now the more discerning viewers amongst you will notice that I've not erected my post yet, and there's a good reason for that, because what I want to do is add my wing. So this fly has two wings. It's got a wing at the front here that will wrap around the post, and an over wing at the back, which is going to help a lot with buoyancy. So what I have here is some roe deer. This one's from Cook's Hill, and it's been dyed a light olive colour. I've already taken some off, and I put it in my stacker and done the customary banging on the table. I didn't want to do that in the film because it does rattle the vise and it could shake the camera, and I don't want to spoil the view for you guys. So there's already some in here. I've pre-stacked it. If I just open out my stacker and grab the tips, oh, it is trying to escape, and I think it did pretty well in trying to escape there, and I've probably got, that's not too bad. I'm just going to take the fibres that are protruding too much away. So I've got that. I'm going to transfer it now to my left hand, so I can just move up a little bit, and I'm going to dress it up to the hook. Now I want it to protrude about 1/8 of an inch past the bend of the hook, and that seems to be okay. You do get an eye for these sort of things after a while, but once you've got the length you want, you can then capture in a pinching loop. Once you've got it in, just try and trap down a few of your cut fibres into the body. So once you've got that in place, lay it back. Now I can see I've got a couple of fibres trapped in there that I don't want, but let's see if I can just remove that. Yeah, there we go. So that's looking okay so far. Next then, I'm going to bring my post back, and I'm going to start building a little ramp just in behind the post to help it stand up a little bit more. Now, it may look an awkward shape at the moment, but I'm not overly worried about that. Next, what I want to do is add some wax to my thread. I'm going to come again back behind the post, holding it in place. I just want to build a little stand that my hackle will be able to go round. Needs to be quite tall because there is going to be quite a lot of dubbing going on at the front of the hook again. So I can't say I'm really happy with this fly, and in the normal scheme of things I would have stopped and done this video again, but unfortunately I'm out of time, so I'm going to have to just make the best of a bad job. So anyway, I've got my post standing up straight, and I've got plenty of nice clean space at the front here. So the next thing I want to do is select a feather from my grizzle cape, and I've already got that ready to tie in. So I've stripped away all the fibres from the front, and as you can see, I've stripped away one side of the hackle. Now I want the good side of the feathers to be facing down on the fly, so I'm going to try and tie that in, doing that, and I'm catching in that whole stalk there. I'm going to come round that side and then back to the front of my hook. Now there's very little space now between my thread and my eye, and what I'm going to do is again pick away at my little snowshoe bits here and dub that onto my thread. If some of the longer fibres get caught in, all the better. But I'm not dubbing it hard. I want this to be nice and nice and soft, and when I be able to get my dubbing brush in at the end. Now I'm going to have one turn in with the feather there. Then I'm going to bring that back like so. The next turn is up around the post, so it's now in front of the post, and I'm resting my thread on my side. Then I can bring my hackle around the post. Now, a tip I picked up when I was at the BFFI, I was paying attention, believe it or not, and one of the things Paul Lawrence taught me was to count my turns. So I didn't quite understand what he meant. I've always just turned until I thought I had a nice looking hackle, and then that was me. But what he said is if you count your turns, you'll be able to reproduce the fly exactly the same. Oh, that's gone a bit wrong. Obviously talking and winding hackles is not my forte. Need about 10 sets of fingers for this. He said if you count your turns, you will be able to reproduce exactly the same fly. And I thought, oh, that's a good tip. And I think I'm going to start doing that when I learn how to tie properly. But in the meantime, that looks okay. So I've got a reasonable hackle in there, and what I'm going to do is come around with my thread 2 or 3 turns just to trap that hackle in place. I'm going to just bend it back, and I'm going to add a half hitch, come over your post, try and work your thread through the fibres, and then close it into place. Make sure it's nice and secure. Next, you want to get your needle, your dubbing needle, sorry, and a little bit of super glue. Just needs the slightest amount. Open up your vise so you can see what you're doing. Then just where you've secured your half hitch or your whip finish, if you've got that skill, you can just add a little drop of super glue and go in, remove your excess hackle, remove your excess thread, and at this point you can shorten your post. I've left about just over 1/4 of an inch there, and before I do anything else, I'm just going to come in with my dubbing needle, loosen up some of that dubbing I've got in the bottom here, and I'll just show you the footprint before I turn the vise back. As you can see, it's got a very buggy looking footprint. I'll turn it back and lock down my vise, and then, as with all my dry flies, I'm going to come in with some muslin at the end and treat the fly. And then what happens is this will go in onto a fly clip until it's dry. Then once I'm happy, it goes into the box. And when I'm next by the river, I can tie it on without any worry about treating or adding floating to the fly. It's ready to go. Thanks very much for watching. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time.